from Abuja.
Hello, I'm glad you're a part of our show. We appreciate you. I'm Magnus Kpakol, and this is Magnus Kpakol GVA. As always, it's all about how we can raise the level of living. That's what it's all about. In view today, the agricultural solution to poverty and rural development. Rural poverty in Nigeria, according to the National Bureau of Statistics data of 2010, is 69%. Most people using international standards think it is much higher than that. So now, much effort is put into agriculture. Can accelerated growth in agriculture, if it happens, end poverty and bring development to rural Nigeria? To help us look at this, we have with us Dr. Akim Abolade Oyerinde, a lecturer at the University of Abuja. But before this, in our competitiveness review this week, we see how the famous Rachel I Center in Abuja is globally competitive. Then in our hidden economics, we look for rural Owambe. Now up next in our quick view, we rank poverty severity. That's coming right up. Poverty severity is derived from poverty gap, which actually by itself also measures poverty intensity. For ease, we will use the poverty gap to approximate poverty severity. Therefore, for the poverty gap index, also referred to as poverty gap ratio or PG index, it is defined as the average of the ratio of the poverty gap to the poverty line. It is expressed as a percentage of the poverty line for a country or region. The poverty gap index is therefore an improvement over the poverty rate, which simply counts all the people below a poverty line in a given population and considers them equally poor. The poverty gap index estimates the depth of poverty by considering how far, on the average, the poor are from the poverty line. In this connection, which of the following advanced economies has the highest poverty gap or severity? France, Germany, United Kingdom, and United States of America. Which of the following African countries has the largest poverty gap in the world? Angola, Congo DR, Nigeria, and Zambia. Stay with us for our answers coming up shortly. Still in view, agriculture and rural development. Our discussion with Dr. Oyerinde. Now up next, Rachel I Center in our competitiveness review. Stay with us. Today we have chosen an organization to showcase in our competitiveness review. Rachel I Center, located in Area 11 of Abuja, stands out as a good example for eye care and medical centers looking to be globally competitive in Nigeria. In our focused tests and discussions, it delivers world-class eye care services as well as any in the major cities of the world. Using world-class equipment, Rachel Eye Center can provide same-day service on complicated optical services, where typically other companies would send your glasses abroad. They don't just have opticians and optometrists to fill prescription glasses. They also have ophthalmologists that can handle eye diseases to provide medical, surgical, and optical eye care. This eye care facility can carry out various surgical procedures, including cataract, trabeculectomies, plastic surgery, retinal surgery, and more. For a developing country to provide medical care, including management of medical retinal lesions, glaucoma, and uveitis, is to be globally competitive. Folks, this medical center also carries out research and have published in various journals, both local and international. Rachel Eye Center, located in Area 11 in Abuja, our choice for this week's competitiveness review.
All the party way then they do for Lagos City. Now there where you go find the money receipt. She know they carry last yo, she know they greedy. Yeah, 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 kill on wakiri. Mommy here today want to lay out. On fair agele lo sibi yao. Daddy suli ya on fellow shy. Want to dey feel up we color jai. Oja wala on so lo shy. Wọ́n pè sàn ní adé, wọ́n pè bàdó. Èyí tún lè gan wọ́n ní ìjọ tí mo jó lánàá.
Owambe by the great Simisola Bola Tito Ogunleye, professionally known and referred to as Simi. Simi is a Nigerian singer and songwriter who started her career as a gospel singer, releasing her debut studio album in 2008. Owambe. Owambe literally means it is there. However, when a Nigerian and typically a Yoruba person mentions Owambe, they are usually talking about a lavish party with plenty of food, drinks, and much more. At an Owambe, couples will typically wear uniform clothing called ashoebi, and the party will feature highly expensive dressing, great fanfare, and celebration to include showing off expensive purses, trinkets, and shoes to match. Sometimes money will be thrown around over celebrants in something Nigerians call spraying. Lagos is the capital of Owambe. Other big cities also feature it. So why not in villages and rural areas? Maybe a clever way to develop rural communities is to have Owambes there. It will bring all the glitz and pizzazz associated with it. People will build fancy houses and make lavish preparations for the party. Therefore, trickle-down economics will happen with multiplier effects, bringing perhaps infrastructure, including electricity, roads, health centers, and perhaps even educational facilities. The power of Owambe, our hidden economics.
Ladies and gentlemen, make una no vex for this interruption. Abeg, who take jalopi? Take block G-Wagon.
Before we start our discussion, here are our quick view answers. Although the UK and the US have about the same rate of poverty at about 15% using their own definitions, the United States is the advanced economy listed here with the largest poverty gap at 6.55%. The Democratic Republic of the Congo has the largest poverty gap in the world. For comments, adverts, and sponsorship, please see our information displayed on the screen. So, can a rapid pace of economic development come quickly to rural areas in Nigeria? Who are the stakeholders responsible for poverty eradication and economic development in rural Nigeria? To discuss this, we have with us Dr. Akim Abolade Oyerinde. Dr. Oyerinde is a lecturer in the Department of Crop Protection of the Faculty of Agriculture at the University of Abuja. Please join us in our discussion with Dr. Akim Abolade Oyerinde. Okay, Doctor, thank you very much for being on our show here at Magoni Studios. We're happy to have you. Today we're going to be talking about agriculture and how it can help to reduce poverty in the rural areas. Basically, agriculture and rural development. You know, I guess everybody agrees that agriculture is key, is pivotal. Its significance cannot be overstated as far as economic activity in the rural areas. So I want to even start from the point of view of the Ministry of Agriculture and Rural Development. And I know recently you were in an, should I call it, encounter with the minister. You were on a TV program with the minister, you guys talked. So in your view, why do we call it Ministry of Agriculture and Rural Development? Is it that there is a very strong connection between agriculture and rural development and therefore poverty eradication?
Okay, thank you, sir. The major thing has been that majority of Nigerian population are agrarian in nature. At least most of our villages, most of our settings in each states in Nigeria, they are being populated by majorly farmers. So you can't talk about rural development or development of the villages or of the enclaves without talking about developing their practice, which is indigenous to them, which is traditional to them. Nigerians are known from time immemorial to be farmers. And thus, if you want to improve their life, you must improve what can sustain them. So the ministry in this government was named Ministry of Agriculture and Rural Development because of the context of thinking of there is massive movement of the youthful generation in terms of age into the city.
Okay.
The drift is so massive and is a cankerworm in the development of the country. When you talk about a young boy, a teenager that grew up in the villages, he will be having quest to move out of that place because they want to have a good livelihood. So in the developed world, you'll find out that the rural area, they are always competing favorably with the urban setting. If you have a good road,
in advanced economy.
In advanced economy, okay. If you have good road, if you have a water provision, if you have a good processing facility within in the closest region to the villages, to the rural community, the youth or the younger ones will not be thinking of moving into the city. So I think that's the concept
why do they go to the urban areas here in say, Nigeria or Africa?
I think that's the concept. The reason is that they believe they want to have a better livelihood, better condition, sustainability.
What does that mean? Electricity, or what was that mean?
Thinking of getting one job that is not available.
Okay.
People troop into the city looking for a job, white collar job, or whatsoever you call it, that is not available. But the quest or the movement, that trajectory of that large movement is because the facility, the infrastructure that can sustain them is not available.
Okay.
For example.
So they're not looking for jobs, they're looking for infrastructure.
Good livelihood.
So because when they go to the urban areas, they don't find the jobs.
Yes.
So why don't they go back home where there's at least food? There's agriculture.
Immediately you move from the villages, your village, and you are now in town.
Yes.
It will change your psyche. The first psyche is how will I now go back into that rural area? So and you now find out it has escalated the level of insecurity in the cities. Because you are in the city, there's no house.
Yes.
They will start sleeping under the bridge.
Yeah, okay, but since we were looking at the rural area, so what do we do then, you as an expert in this area, what do we do then to improve conditions in the rural areas? Isn't it, first of all, just to make sure that we create jobs, well-paying jobs, so that these people can go back to the rural areas and take jobs?
The rural area doesn't need jobs.
Okay, what do they need?
Because already there are jobs in the rural area.
Like what? Like where?
When you talk about an agri value chain development, you find out that if you are producing crop, you still need processor. Even in producing crop, you take laborers. You cannot be the only one that will be doing it. Whether it's mechanized farming or it's primitive farming, you need labor. You create labor there.
Okay.
In the processing arm,
but there is no processing happening in the rural areas. Much of the processing is happening in the urban centers in manufacturing. As you know, we were talking before we came on set that the way even the NBS, National Bureau of Statistics, the way that they break it out sectorally is that in agriculture, they have crop production, they have livestock, they have fisheries, and they have forestry. There is no processing in any of those categories.
Like in most of you have primary products, you have intermediate products.
Okay.
In most of our villages, you'll find out that we have a missing gap in all our agri in entirety in Nigeria. The missing gap is that when we produce, we don't think of post-harvest management.
Okay. It tends to happen, the states that are agrarian tend to be poorer. But isn't that a paradox? How can it happen that states that have food, that have facility for agriculture, for crop production, for livestock, for sometimes fisheries, for forestry, turn out to be some of the poorest states? We find that most of the northern states are poorer compared to the southern states. What is the explanation for that?
There is a new dynamic now.
Okay.
That's an old way of thinking about agriculture.
Okay.
I usually teach agripreneurship.
Okay.
At the final year.
Agripreneurship. Okay.
That's agri entrepreneurship.
Good.
For all our agricultural, the graduates, the final year students in our university.
Good.
And the concept is agric is business.
Okay.
When Additional was the Minister of Agric, he revitalized that and make people to realize that agric is a business and we can only do agric as business to prosper.
Yes.
If we limit agric to the traditional setting, we will not gain anything there.
Okay.
So the concept.
I'm sorry, what is traditional setting?
When you use the laborious use of cutlass and hoe.
Okay.
You have so many type of small inputs that you can use in agri, the intermediate technology that you can use that will maximize the production.
Do we have those things in our villages and communities now?
That is not that we can claim that we have it. How many tractors do we have in Nigeria?
Hey, that's what I'm asking you. You're the expert, yeah.
The tractors that we have in Nigeria is not even up to what they have in Ghana. Ghana is not more than 2 or 3 states in Nigeria. So, but the issue is agriculture now. Is if we want to get the best from agriculture, we must mechanize it. So the states that you said they are poorer,
yes.
Then they were thinking of the agriculture of producing only the inputs. When you produce only cassava, only maize, no. But now they are thinking of adding value to it.
Are they thinking or they are doing it?
They are now doing it.
Like what states?
For example, the Kebbi experience in rice.
Okay.
When they have a interaction collaboration with Lagos,
yes.
You find out that they now led rice production in Nigeria.
Yes.
I was in a program in Ebonyi.
Okay.
That the Ebonyi people started arguing with me that how can Kebbi now be leading them in rice production? And at the end, when we evaluate it, Ebonyi came second.
Okay.
So which means that there is healthy competition between them.
That's pretty good. Yeah.
They are now producing rice, and the rice that is being produced in Nigeria is close to 80-90% of what we are consuming now.
Okay. Certainly, agriculture and agricultural processing can speed rural development and create jobs for a better livelihood for rural people. It can also help to reverse the so-called inexorable rural-urban migration that is proved too burdensome for urban areas and policymakers. Unfortunately, in Nigeria, agriculture has failed to grow in spite of the rhetoric from the policymakers. All the talk and no real progress? Agricultural growth has not reached anywhere near 5% in recent years. In fact, in the last quarter measured, agriculture grew at a miserable pace of just 1.9%. Indeed, on a quarterly basis, agriculture has not managed to crawl over 3% recently. Well, to speed growth in agriculture, we need technology, access to low-cost capital, access to markets, and much human capital development. And then add to that farm-to-market roads and other infrastructure. You can call this access to markets. I believe, however, that with some of the aggressive non-conventional intervention by the Central Bank of Nigeria, much relief should be underway. Even so, we need attention to be paid to agricultural processing. Agriculture, as in just crop production, fishing, livestock, and forestry, is not helping much in reducing poverty in Nigeria. The case of the northern states of Nigeria exposes this problem, as if agriculture causes poverty. Not so. What causes poverty is low productivity and poor human capital development. Rural people need help, folks. They need it now. I'm Magnus Kpakol, and that's my view.
Magnus.